Hi, folks. My spiritual journey started in BITS planning. Sometime in the second or third year, I was introduced to this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda ji. And back then, it totally confused me. I was totally muddle headed. I had no idea what to do with this or whatever I had learned back then. My second attempt at spirituality was thanks to Rajiv Gupta, who's on this call with us. Rajiv and some of his wingies were listening to Osho tapes. And so I also sat in some of these sessions they would have once in a while. And then I borrowed those tapes and I listened to them. I found some of that material very interesting, something one could relate to. But it did not really got me hooked. I wouldn't say it was OST, but it just didn't attracted me. My third attempt and the final attempt, thanks to again Rajiv, was to go and try transcendental meditation by Mahesh Yogi ji and one of his disciples in Delhi. I went there. And then I just gave up. I just decided this is something not for me. I'm not ready for it. And I took a complete 180-degree turn and became what we call now Sansari or a Bhogi. And it was a very conscious choice because, getting out of beds, you are looking for your career, you're looking for success, and as it is defined. And therefore, it was a very conscious choice for me to say that spirituality is not for me right now. Perhaps at some other point, I will come back to it. And, as life unfolds, you conveniently forget about it. So that was what happened in early 90s. And then, I went to do my MBA, and like any ambitious MBA, had a bucket list of things to do, um, goals to achieve, money in the bank, and have a spreadsheet to, see how quickly you can retire, etc., etc. And that was really bogey life with, success coming along. You are eating well, you are eating fine foods, you are trying wine, and I actually started enjoying wine too much. At one point, I was contemplating becoming a sommelier, and I almost bought a vineyard in New Zealand. So really, all in sensory pleasures, all thinking about refined offerings that this world has to attract you towards it. And then in fast forward to 2012, I was back in Delhi, wanted to raise the kids near the extended family. And what I saw was that parents were getting old and they were having a lot of health issues. And that got me thinking that what will happen to me when I reach that particular milestone in life. So my solution was that let me start practicing yoga. So for me, that became something I got interested into. And then I got a yoga teacher and started doing asanas and pranayam with him. And immediately, within a few weeks, as I would do pranayam, I felt very relaxed. And I thought, wow, this is a very good thing that I've learned. But clearly, spirituality was nowhere close. I was still a bhogi. I was still eating and drinking a lot of wine and doing everything that a bhogi does and much more at extremes. If you ask Girija, she will tell you that. Um, and then, as my yoga teacher asked me to go for walks so that I could have a little more healthier lifestyle. And as I would go for these walks, I found them very boring. What to do? Just can't be just walking. So I started listening to bhajans, and that was a big change because as I would listen to these bhajans, I would feel a little bit of relaxation in my head, and I would feel more calm within myself. And that sort of prompted me to the next step, which happened in 2016 after our 25th year reunion. So Rajesh started the meditation group and I promptly joined, thinking that if pranayam is helping me, if bhajans are helping me, perhaps this meditation will take me closer to getting better at my work, being more calm. But again, I had no concept of spirituality. This is just a steps towards it, if I would say so. So I joined that, and I saw some benefits of the meditation that Rajesh would do with us. and it was helpful. And I did it for 6 to 9 months, but then again I fell off the wagon, and I don't know why. It's something that I thought I was good at and I could continue without any guide, but as time would have it, it just went away. So that was that. And then in 2019, I was facing a very crisis, a professional crisis, and that prompted me to ask the perennial question, why me? And so that's when I broached the topic of reading Gita with Rajesh. To me, that's when the idea came that I had heard that everybody says Gita has answers to all the questions. So I said, okay, let me see what it has to offer. And that's when I tried Rajesh to get this Gita group going. And we met, some of us met for dinner, and that's how we got thinking about this. But I had still not given up that Bhogi element. I think that was pretty much there. It was just trying to solve a problem. The problem being there is a crisis, and how do I deal best with it? And therefore, perhaps this is the answer. And so it was more looking for an answer rather than really, really coming to Gita and coming to spirituality. What really changed was the pandemic. As India went through the lockdown, um, we couldn't go out. So then, as Alpna had posted a very nice picture saying, if we can't go outside, let's go inside. And that was our group DP for a while. And to me, that really was the clarion call to say that if there are problems in this world, and this is one problem that the world hasn't seen for 100 years, even though, if you talk to folks, like I was speaking to my father, and he would say, well, we had this influenza in 1950s and whatnot. But, this global scale, this connected scale, it was something different, and obviously the first time in all of our lives. And so that was the turning point. That was the turning point when the light bulb went on. And I said, this is something interesting. This is something which can change your life and potentially help you get better at whatever you want to do. And the added benefit is obviously it's going to bring a lot of inner calmness. And so with that, that's when I started participating more actively. I think Rajesh jokingly nudged me early on in Feb that VP, you wanted to start this, but you never, you're not participating enough, or you're not even showing up. And that really prompted me to become more serious about it. So what I'm going to share next in the next part is my learnings from what this group has been discussing, what the book, that teaching of the Bhagavad Gita from Swami Dayananda ji has taught us, some of the readings and learnings from the various discourses from Swami Sapriyananda ji, Swami Shivam Tirath ji, Swami Bhumananda ji, and Swami Paramathananda ji. So these are the things that I've tried to assimilate, and now I'm going to share my top 10 learnings out of that. So one thing that I gravitated very quickly to was the whole notion of that Vedanta is very experiential. And Swami Sapriyananda ji made that point quite a few times, which appealed to me. And his famous and very easy to understand example is that we all go into deep sleep every 24 hours. And to me, I said, yeah, of course, I feel that. And if that is true, then there has to be more to it. There must be more experiences that one can relate to. So that was really the hook that prompted me to say, okay, I need to go deeper into this. And just a personal example on that front is, I started practicing Ekadashi fasting back in April, but it used to be a struggle. And with divine grace and with the progress that I have made, I am fortunately able to do Nirjala Ekadashi fasting on most of these Ekadashis every 14 days. So I think those experiences help you move forward, at least in my case, that's how I felt. So that was a big, big anchor in my mind, that because you can experience it, because you can go from one milestone to another milestone, and that's why the attraction to be more involved went up. The second learning I would say is regarding the purified mind is what is required for spiritual growth. So that whole idea, I was wondering that how do you get purified mind, right? Can I just borrow it from somewhere, or can I just put some ghee and do some massage and it'll become purified, or what? And I think as I learned and as I listened to these discourses, um, and Rajesh talked about it quite a bit, that scriptures have given you the roadmap. So all you have to do is just find your answer somewhere in those scriptures. And the answer here was sadhana chatushtayam. The whole idea of starting from vivek, going to vairagya, and then shat sampati, and then mumukshuktam. So these are the old ancestor time-tested strategies that had worked for rishis, that had worked for people many, many years ago. And to me, it seemed that that's the right answer. But what I also experienced is that it's important to have the right food intake if you want to purify your mind. And some of us, goaded by Rajesh, did Chaturmasa this year. And I think that was a wonderful experience to really internalize this understanding that what you're putting inside your body is going to have a lot of impact on your mind, a lot of impact on your actions. And until you make that food sattvic, and until you focus on reducing the tamas and rajas gunas in your system, the probability of the progress is going to be lower. So if the goal is to have a purified mind, then it is better to perhaps start with the food that you intake. So that became a very, very important learning for me. And as some of you guys know, that I've stayed even after Chaturmasa has finished. I've stayed with 2 meals per day and try to be eating as much sattvic food as possible. And I think that helps. One of the very big learnings, and thanks goes to Alpna, that I got exposed to Swami Shivom Tirathji Maharaj, who has written this fantastic 3-book series called Hidya Manthan about him becoming sevak to his Guruji and his Guruji's Q&A with him about the doubts he's getting in his spiritual journey. And one of the key takeaways for me from that series is that you have to destroy your prarabdh and destroy your ahankar. And I think most of us are very familiar with prarabdha, but I would just quickly summarize that it is the baggage we are carrying from many lives prior to this life. All the bad karmas, all the good karmas, all that together coming into this life. And what Swamiji has said, as I have understood it, and obviously anything I say which is not correct is all my misunderstanding. But what I've understood is that we are carrying so much of baggage, and until that baggage is destroyed, we are not going to, move forward or get the moksha or get to the other side, whichever way you want to put it. And for that, you have to take care of 3 main devils or demons inside you. And he talks over and over about asakti, um, the vasanas, and the samskar. And asakti is nothing, as I have understood it, it's just attachment to your family, attachment to your career, or in whatever form it comes to you. And then your vasana is, as we know, desires, right? To be, a billionaire, or to be doing extremely well, to be on TV giving gyan, etc., etc. So those kind of desires, right? And then you have your samskars, which are I think are the real challenge, because again they are the imprints in your mind from your previous experiences, right? And God only knows how many lives one has lived. So think about the multiplication of experiences that everyone is supposed to be carrying, and I think that's really the challenge. I think that's really the biggest demon to slay inside ourselves, as I've understood it. But they also give you the path, right? That what is the way to go after these demons? What is the way to kill your ego, to kill your ahamkar? And what I have gathered from Swamiji is that it's the patience, the dharya, as they call it, because this whole series is in Hindi, and I would encourage you guys to take a listen. If you haven't heard Shuddh Hindi in a while, I think you will freak out. It's marvelous. So patience, and then surrender, which is samarpan. And the third element they talk about is the continuity, which is the continuing with it totally as a sadhak. So these are this concept of destroying prarabdha and using these characteristics to build that strength to slay these demons, I think is phenomenal, something I really learned and internalized. And as part of that, they also talk about this concept of Sahanshilta. And Kishore had talked about Pratipaksh Bhavna. So ever since that particular session, I thought this is a very powerful idea, but every time I would try and practice Pratipaksh Bhavna to somebody who was being rude to me or offensive to me, I just couldn't do it. Whereas, this idea of Sahanshilta I found is a nice midway pit stop till you get to Pratipaksh Bhavna. So Sahanshilta is if somebody is being rude to you, just accept it as a result of your prarabdha. So the idea being that you may have done something bad in your previous life or even in this life many years ago, and it is just giving you the phalam at this point in time. And the idea of prasada buddhi that we studied in the book from Swami Dayananda ji is I think the same notion that just accept it. But the connection that Shivom Tiraji Maharaj makes it between prasad buddhi and prarabdha was just something aha moment for me, that wow, this is how it is going to help you kill some of that prarabdha that you're trying to get away from. The next point, the fifth point, is the whole notion of seva bhav. And I think Rajesh has also written about it, and we have read other places about it, that you could be giving to charity, you could be doing volunteering. But one of the very simple and powerful idea that I learned was from Swami Paramananda ji's lectures, when he says that, you don't have to even do anything, just say a small prayer for the well-being of everyone. And I think if you just do that, that itself is such a good way to get on the path of seva bhav, or increasing the volume or increasing the intensity of that characteristic in you. The next point, number 6, is bhakti yoga. This is one of my favorites for the simple reason that I grew up in a very religious household. Puja, havan, temple visits, pilgrimages, they were part of our lives. For me back then, the attraction to go to temple was clearly prasad, not deity. Going to the pilgrimages was more about the comic books that I could buy at the train station. But as I have dealt into spirituality, the most interesting thing came from Swami Sapriyananda ji, when he says that, as you're trying to, let's say there's an ocean that you have to cross to get to the other side in moksha or whatever, a jnani is trying to swim across that particular body of water, whereas a bhakt is sitting in a boat whose helmsman is God. So I just thought for me it's bhakti yoga, because then I don't have to do any work. So it sort of at least resonated with me at that level also. Point number 7, this is very important and something that is still a work in progress for me, is meditation. As we all have learned that it's very important to meditate for Jnana Yoga. But for me, I know I have made progress over the last 9 months, but I think it's still a work in progress for me, because it just highlights that it's very, very difficult to get a grip on one's mind. Because, if let's say 12 months ago, I had a completely monkey mind and, will jump from one thought to the other. I know where I am today is probably I can have a few seconds of that calmness that people talk about when they are meditating. But I know that I have lots to learn. And thanks to Rajiv, I got Sri M's book on meditation. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And Rajesh has suggested some videos, so I'll watch those, and I think I'll get better at it. This concept of the next point is about Brahman and Maya. And I have never understood Maya, even though we grew up with this Hindi phrase, "Ye sab Prabhu ki Maya hai," and that's a very common thing you hear in northern India. But I've never understood Maya. But in trying to understand Brahman, I think I have made progress. And the way I have understood is that I am part of this whole universe, and this there is a dream that is going on, and I don't realize that I am that me in that dream, um, because of Maya. So the whole notion of, because we can dream, because we all dream, right? We have dreams. It's easier to understand that I am in somebody else's dream, and to become a third person to somebody else's dream has made me understand, at least at the intellectual level, uh, that okay, this is how it's supposed to be, that you are part of that whole, but you just can't see that. So therefore just assume that you're living in somebody else's dream, and when that dream is going to get over. And let me just share some pessimism there. The dream can take many lives, because I heard Swami Vishnu Tiraji Maharaj say that he was in this world for 9,000 years before he went back to where he belonged. So just to set the right expectation, it can take a very long time, and that's why they say that you have to be very patient. You have to be on this path. My next point is about one of the last slides of Kishore's presentation, FIR. As a person who thinks logically, who analyzes for a living, the whole notion was, okay, fine, if you do all this, how do you measure it? And I think that FIR framework, I will attribute it to Kishore. I'm sure either he has come up with it or he has learned it from some Swamiji as well. But that's a very powerful framework to monitor your own progress. And the way I have implemented it, well, let me just take a minute to explain what FIR stands for. It's frequency, intensity, and recovery. And the whole idea is that, let's say you are trying to get your mind centered, um, and something disturbs that equipoise. Then what is the frequency of that disturbance because of external stimuli, and what is the intensity of that disturbance, and how quickly can you recover from that? And I think I have started applying in my daily life, and it makes life better. I have can't say I'm getting it 100% right. I think it's probably at 20-30%. But the important point is that I'm able to catch myself in some instances that maybe I shouldn't say what I'm about to say. Or if I have said something, I am much quicker to realize, oh, shoot, I should not have said that, or I should not have put it out like that. And I think that's a huge progress when you're able to catch yourself. And if somebody has, on the reverse side, has something said, unpleasant words to me, it just doesn't matter, because even if I get upset, I should be able to rebound faster. I should be able to get over that. And I think I'm seeing that change. And I think that's very helpful. And before you know, we are on the 10th point now. And my 10th is something where I have gone completely 180 degrees again. Before 2020, I thought these Gurujis are a racket. I did not believe in them because I just thought, everyone can become a guru and get some disciples and have a merry time. But speaking to Rajesh, I asked him this question and he blogged about it also. And now my perspective has changed completely for the simple reason, as I have dived more deeply into the material. One thing is very clear, that if you have the right guru, then he can take you places. So more than having a guru, the more important thing is, do you have the right guru, and do you have the same wavelength? Is it telling you the things the way you need at that particular point in time? And for me, the best guru so far this year has been our group. And as Raji pointed out to me, that I don't need a group because our group has fantastic ideas and fantastic knowledge sharing. So that has been one of the key learnings. So that sort of summarizes my 10 learnings. How are we doing on time? I think just about okay. Uh, so let me share one more thing. What is the outcome, right? We always, as a very logical people, think about, okay, this is learning, but what is the outcome, and where do you go from here? So one of the outcomes that I want to share with you guys is that I think our household has become more spiritual in 2020. So Girija, my wife, she has been listening to more spiritual discourses than she ever has in her life. My older son, Shreyas, he was with us over the summer for 3 months. And, fortunately, he took upon himself by my prodding to read the book that we were reading. And he read it and made some wonderful notes on the book. And now he's continuing that journey by joining the Hindu Society at the college he's at. My younger one, he's 14, so too young to understand all this. But perhaps because I'm his father, he has no choice. We both sit and chant few mantras and do some breathing exercise for 10 minutes every day. So that really is a very powerful outcome, at least in 2020, from my perspective. With that, I think I'll close and take any questions.